Hello everyone. I had an issue with the sound, so I was like wondering and just doing it again. So sorry for that. So hello and welcome to the CTO Wannabe CTO Bootcamp. We are really happy to host this second masterclass of the day. I'm Caroline, CEO and founder of 15 Tech. And we are happy to host you today. And please use the chat on the side to tell us a bit more about yourself. Where are you from? What is your position? What is your main challenge? And please don't be shy, because we are a safe place. And we have like Chloe and Alice from 15 Tech team who are also present in the chat to answer any question you may have. So I want to see in the chat if people are here and chatting already. Hi, nice to you, and we are really happy to be back. So don't hesitate to present yourself, please. Hello everyone. You can come back in the session. We are live now with Alesia Braga, CTO of SmartRecruiters. Don't hesitate to say hi in the chat. While we are waiting for everyone to arrive, let me present 15 Tech. 15 Tech's mission is to close the gender gap in tech. We are a free networking platform for women in tech and their allies. And when you join our community, you can connect with amazing peers, find advice and events such as this bootcamp, for example, and access job offers from selected companies that are committed to diversity and inclusion. We started this bootcamp as an upskilling session for you to empower and grow in your career. And because we can't be what we can't see, we really want to showcase the best female CTOs in Europe. You know that according really the last State of European Tech from Atomico, we have only 1% of female CTO in Europe, and we need to act and to show you role models that have done it already. And that's why we are very pleased to present you an amazing CTO who started coding at 6 years old. Oh my God. Alesia Braga, CTO at SmartRecruiters, a talent acquisition suite used by organizations for making the best hires. I can't wait to have this conversation with her. And the conversation will be about how can a chief technology officer use their role to champion diversity. Really such important topic, and I really hope that you will enjoy this panel. Just to give you a little bit of rules of the session, so we will have this conversation with Alesia, and then we will have a Q&A session after the conversation. And so you can really ask your question during the hour in the chat, and I will pick them and ask them to Alesia. And after the masterclass, we will have without Alesia, networking session. So you have a networking tool on the left side of your screen to have one-on-one session with your peers, and that's really fun. I tried it this morning. It was really, really a great moment. So Alesia, hi. So it's time to say hi, and let's start. And I want to start just to know more about your journey in tech. Can you give us a little bit more about what you did, what is your background, how this idea to enter an engineering camp globally. I think it was super soon for you. So please give us a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very, very happy to be here. Thank you, Caroline, for such a nice intro. As you hinted and gave away, I did start coding at 6. Now, to set the expectations straight, that was nothing production ready. That was a little drawing that I kind of automated. I wanted to draw a snowman and kind of shock other kids that were, I don't know, 7 or 8 years older than me. That, however, kind of piqued my curiosity on what I want to do. And I was pretty much set that it has to do something either with applied math or computers. So I was pretty deep into STEM. Really, really early in life. And I think that has to do something that I actually had a pretty good role model. In front of me, my mother is actually a teacher of math and computer science. So that came naturally, and I know I'm privileged for that, and I really want to pay forward. And that's actually why I'm here, and I want to share my story. So at age around like 12, I started trying to automate some of the boring things that I had to do around math, around homework, doing homework for others. So that was my commercial experience of building software where I could actually gain something back or solving problem mostly for myself and automating certain things. But nevertheless, like as I said, I set my mind up to do this pretty early on. So I went to university and I started my full-time job really early. So at the end of when I actually graduated, I was already leading a team. Now I'm very close to coding. I'm an engineer in heart. I understand technology. I'm very passionate about it. So I don't want to move away from this. And I think the journey itself, like from starting coding, continuing coding, and then solving problems, it's about having impact. Like alone, you genuinely can solve a problem. It's probably going to take you longer. But then how many people can you touch by this solution? So my motivation to go and continue in leadership and changing technologies and leading teams, leading more teams, bigger teams, growing teams, was about having impact and more impact, so you can actually change the life of many more people. So yeah, I did a lot of coding gigs. I'm originally from Eastern Europe, so I moved to Germany. That was quite of a journey of also changing country, learning new language, going from management back to individual contributor role. So, and then kind of building yourself up again. Here I am, leading a team of amazing professionals at SmartRecruiters. We are on the journey how to change recruiting for everybody and make it more inclusive.
And yeah, you say me when we really prepare these sessions that you even got the role of like not CTO but leading a team even like before becoming a CTO. So perhaps like to explain a little bit the switch between when you got the first role as a CTO, it was before Smart Recruiter, yeah. So perhaps explain a little bit more about this, how it was to, and perhaps just about your career when this change, this switch, and so on.
So so I it's not just about CTOs, it's in general leadership and technology. That's why like when Caroline, when we had this conversation, I do think it's different of actually having a title and doing the job and then actually doing the job without a title. So my first CTO role was before SmartRecruiters. I worked for a company called Quandu, and what we did there is restaurant reservation. So in France, it's Fork, and it's kind of a competitor of OpenTable, and we're focused mostly on Asia Pacific, and Europe. So it was a really cool challenge of kind of rebuilding culture and structuring. It wasn't an early stage startup, so it was a pretty set business that just needed to grow and scale up. However, coming back to the point of actually not having a title and doing the job, I was in the role of senior director of engineering before, and I was leading a bigger team for 5 years before without a title. I think it's a fancy recognition to be a female CTO, but I think we should go broader. We're actually expanding the leadership. But then there is a difference of kind of different CTOs in the industry. If you look at the smaller company or like a startup, that's one profile. And if you go to established company, it's a completely different profile.
Yeah.
So
there is like kind of different description of the CTO role, not only one?
I don't think like not only one. I think every company outlines it differently. So people think like, oh, CTOs, they're like, there's a scorecard, you just go for it. No, the majority of the positions, like if I get recruiters that are trying to convince me to join something else, there are a lot of different questions that you can ask. How big is the team? What is the setup? What exactly do you envision for CTO to own? There could be some internal technology tools that you may or may not be interested in. Security might not be included, might be included. Infrastructure might be included, might not be included. In my role right now, for example, I also own product. So there's a new fancier title, CTPO, is just too long to pronounce. I'm closer to tech, so I prefer CTO. So that's who I am. But at SmartRecruiters, for example, we combine those two. So I also lead product. So this one lens, right, of exactly what you do and what kind of departments you lead and run. And then there's also another aspect of it. And who do you lead? Like, do you lead engineers directly? Like, how big is your team? Or do you lead team leads? Like, do you know them all by name? What's the size of this organization? How much do you need to invest into agility, processes, organization? So the bigger the companies, the more established companies, you lead leaders and not necessarily engineers. And then obviously the tasks that you do day to day are different, and you do need different profiles. So this is what you need to understand, like, what kind of CTO do you want to be? Where do you start? Maybe you want to grow, and it's always a journey.
And that's really interesting. And you say that you were like a CP CTO, but finally you choose the CTO title. So what kind of CTO are you? And can you perhaps describe what is like your skills to do that, and how do you manage, and what kind of CTO you are? I think it could be interesting to have this conversation.
Well, I would say we are on the more mature side. We have established processes. We have like amazing clients that are enterprises. So we serve enterprise market. We have to have a pretty rigorous process in how we deliver software. So I think the first flavor is I'm not a typical one. I also own product. So that's one difference. And another one is I don't lead engineers directly. I lead VPs and leaders, and this is increases the complexity and how much you're involved in business. So if we talk about skills, leadership, it's a broad bucket. There's just a lot, right, to unpack. But I think like thought leadership of driving the organization, aligning business to technology, setting priorities. So what do we need to do and why, and actually explaining this to both sides. So that's kind of the CTO that I am.
Okay, and do you believe that it's the skills that every CTO needs to have? So we have sometimes this question, what kind of hard skills do we need to have? What kind of soft skills do we need to have as a CTO? And so what will you say about that? It's a question of hard skills or soft skills only?
I think it needs to be both, especially like, frankly, especially as a woman. You do need to be on your A game pretty much everywhere. Now, you cannot be excellent at everything, and it's completely fine. I think one of the most difficult things for me to do was to realize that I'm not supposed to be the smartest person in the room. I'm supposed to be a leader. And it's okay that I do have engineers that are better than me in engineering, but they cannot maybe formulate the decisions, why they're being made, and understanding how different pieces connect. So answering your question, I don't necessarily think that you need to have the same skills on different kind of, or like there's a set of skills that you need to have, but there's a certain pattern that if you want to be good, if you want to grow, that I would recommend to at least have on your list to pick up. And you do need to be passionate about technology. Technology changes so fast. This is a constant learning that what you think you knew 5 years ago, it's already outdated, and you need to always keep yourself up to speed and up to date of what's going on. Now, given that, with new trends of where technology is going, there's also the core components that do not change. Patterns of software architecture. How does the quality look like? What is the processes of delivering software end to end? And I also see some comments also in chat, also operating software. I spent some time at Google with SRE. I love this concept of actually having this end-to-end ownership and driving this kind of culture. But those, I consider them as hard skills for a CTO. Now, if you're in the small startup, you need to be hands-on coding, most probably, because then you're also a lead engineer, pretty much. And you probably split your time. But on the more mature companies, I would say it's only architecture and leading technology leadership in the sense of which tools are being picked, which direction are we going, and stuff like that. And to the leadership side of things, those are absolutely must-have, right? You absolutely have to be a good communicator. You're leading people, that's the must-have. Verbal, written, all of this, and it's also, it needs to constantly improve. You need to be able to listen to people, get feedback, receive feedback, and that's part of the leadership that I consider soft skills, and it's probably kind of more on the softer skill side. To be successful, I also think it's important to understand business. Like why do you do things? So analytical thinking, thought leadership, making decisions, ability to make decisions and explain them, and not just wait for someone else to tell you what to do, because like there's no one above. Like on technology, you basically an ultimate decision maker. You can do it with your team. You can ask for advice, but then ultimately it's on you.
And yes, and we have a question from Dorina that I will pick, and then I will ask you a second question about that. But do you also feel like the love for detail is a stopper for getting a position like CTO, lead developer? So when you love details, really to be like focused on perhaps small piece of the puzzle. What do you think about this question?
That's interesting. As long as it doesn't stop you from actually making a decision, I think it's good. You like the more data. I'm a data-driven person, and I think every engineer tends to be data-driven of trying to remove emotion from the decision making. You're not building software in isolation. You are representing a company and hopefully building a solution for your customers. You also need to understand that there's certain emotion in play always, and kind of make sure that this is also being evaluated. So while very little details are important, focusing just on them might set you back. So as long as you keep it in control, be mindful of this skill and superpower that you might have of being very attentive to detail, you're good.
And we have another question from Lizzie related to the tech skills. So how do you keep your tech skills sharp? So about you to say keeping the trends, be able to know the new trend and the new technology.
That's a very tough one. And like going back, I made a mistake of focusing a lot on leadership skills when I was at Sugar CRM, leading the company, and then coming back was pretty tough. Like you do get rusty and you do need practice. So what I do is I schedule like little Coursera courses, some time for coding. I tried some time at Advent of Code, if you heard of that. Like as an advanced calendar, every day you release a code challenge and you sign up for this, so you're supposed to solve that, and there's a huge community around it. And I just browse through sometimes interview questions like brain teasers just to keep myself sharp. I also go to GitHub and do code reviews. Engineers don't know that, but I do, just to understand what's going on. But it's tough, and you do need to prioritize that, because if you don't do this too much, then there's such a huge pile to come back to that it feels like you're not in touch with the current world anymore.
Really interesting, this kind of advice. We have like a question from Ivona, more related to leadership. I think it was, as you deal with the situation when someone from your team challenge you with the intention of deliberately undermining, either because of the lack of trust or some other reason behind it?
Not in the current position, but I had this experience before. What drove me to do that? Over prepare and always be in your A game and be better than anybody else. It's a difficult challenge to overcome in the sense of how you lead the team. So if you inherit a team that do not know you and you're the fresh face, there are always going to be people who are going to try to challenge you. And it's okay to let them win a little bit. Ultimately, you need to get them on your side. It's about admitting that I'm not supposed to know all of that. You're supposed to know and bring it to the table. It's about how we work together. I would say the answer will always be it depends. It's very unpleasant. It's very taxing. And I think it's more like weighs on you in a way how you feel about it yourself and how you can drive through this challenge to change the team, get them on your side. It's change management. To have an amazing team right now, so I don't get that. And I hope all of you won't have to deal with this anymore. And that's also why we're championing diversity. That it becomes a new normal. But it is what it is, unfortunately.
And we'll come to that topic. I will just pick that question from Anusua, and then we will come to diversity and how to champion this question internally in your company as a CTO. But I think it will be for every company. So 2 questions from Anusua. Being a CTO, being in a management team, how much is important? Important is the German language skills for getting into such type of position. So relating the fact that you came in Germany and then you grow in your career. So first, that question.
I'm not sure I'll be able to answer this truthfully. I can only tell about my experiences. And asterisk there, I do speak German. I'm fluent in German.
Okay.
I learned German from scratch till a very confident C1 level in 6 months. Now, if you interview for a very German startup with a very German team, and they choose not to hire you because you don't speak German, that's probably not a good company for you. That's my stance. And I understand I'm privileged enough to pick and choose. I think we're at the point already when you don't have to speak German, it's okay. But there still might be some unicorns, and unicorns not in a good way, out there that would require German and think that all of our engineers speak German. We have a very niche team. And you do have to speak German, or maybe investors are. I don't know. I would accept that investors are, and you want to connect with them, and they're old school. But engineers right now in Germany come from every place in the world, fortunately. So I didn't see this resistance, but I also can't speak German, so it's not like it was used against me.
I have to say that I'm really impressed. I learned German during 9 Jahren, aber ich habe alles vergessen. So I'm really impressed by learning German in 6 months. I did that for Portuguese of Brazil, but it was really much fun. And so the second question.
That's the next one on my list.
You should learn. That's super easy. So we'll talk about that later. So how is the transition from a developer to the managerial team went for you, or perhaps as a woman in general? I think it's the hardest one, part of the question, because you are not woman in general, but for you, how it was?
That was actually pretty tough. And so I was an engineer, then I went to senior engineer, and I passed the certification, and then I felt like I'm stuck. I did everything I could in the technology. I was young. There could be more things to do in the technology. So I was like, okay, maybe I should pick up, I don't know, another tool, another language. Flash was the thing, and I kind of didn't like it. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. Let me try team leadership. So I went to team leadership, and then from one day to the next, I started leading 7 engineers. I like those that used to be my peers. I had absolutely no pushback from the team. They were all amazing. I was absolutely lucky. But what I noticed that I did 100% of my coding job, and I also did 100% of my team leadership job. So I basically did 2 jobs at the same time for maybe probably a year, till I actually realized I cannot really keep up doing this anymore. I need to start to delegate and learn how to actually let go, and that I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to carry the same weight. So it took some coaching and mentorship for me to actually recognize how to do that, how to do time management better. I didn't have any issues of being a woman. I had an engineer who was almost double my age, and I was managing him, and I was, I believe, 20, something like this. So from this perspective, that was fine. It was actually a pretty good experience. But it's also like I grew with the team. So they knew me, they knew what I do. I had to prove myself. They knew that I was the best engineer, so I deserved that. And they also appreciated the help that they got from me. But it's also a reason why every time I'm interviewing some engineers who want to step into leadership role, the first question that I'm asking them, why do you want to do this? And your why, and also like I'm talking here about how to become a CTO, you do need to know, why do you want to do this? Is it the right thing for you? It's freaking hard to get there. The journey is hard, but it's worth it for me because I know my why, right? So always start with why. Why and write it down, put it somewhere on your board and vision board, and always come back to this, because there will be a lot of setbacks. There will be a lot of things where you're unsure, like what the heck is going on, but always coming back to your why.
And we have an excellent question from Sarah to do the transition about how can a chief technology officer can use their role to champion diversity. So Sarah asked, as a CTO, do you have the leverage to convince the recruitment team in the company to have a more inclusive method of recruitment for the tech team? So less gender formulated offers, rely less on resume. So we will start with recruitment, perhaps what you did, and then we'll go further to this conversation.
So what we did in recruitment to champion diversity. Well, the thing is, like, we are a little bit privileged. We do have an example, so I think it's a little bit easier to convince women to go and say that it's a safe place. CTO is from, like, by the way, we also have a VP product that is also an amazing woman in tech. So we have a lot of examples, which is fantastic. Now looking at our team structure and gender, for example, gender balance, we recognize there's a problem. So we're trying to proactively source more women. We're trying to make sure that in every recruitment process, we wait for the decision till we actually interview some candidates that are female. So we are actively sourcing them, because I think in general, women tend to apply in a different way and not actually boast about themselves too loud. Like, for example, when I was interviewing for a VP product, I had recent grads applying for VP position. They were all male. There were no women that would think I'm ready to go and take on the lead role, even with some sort of fear to get a no. So we try to involve women also in the interview process through the panels, so people see that there are female engineers, and they see that they're not going to be the first one. It's always hard to be the first. And we also prioritize this on leadership level. We have inclusive leadership training. We have an amazing chief diversity officer that recently joined us. And we also have Kavi right now in the chat. She's driving diversity recruiting for us and was an amazing partner so far. So we do take it seriously, but it's a huge problem to solve. And but we're committed to solving that.
So one part of the solution is to, you say to me, is to be the role model. So to really work on this responsibility to show that it's possible. So perhaps explain, because I'm talking with a lot of software engineer lead and perhaps like CTO sometimes, and they're really overwhelmed and they're not taking the time because they're like so much to do that. But you tell me, I'm doing that because it's important. So perhaps you can a little bit give us explanation about that. I do believe that a lot of women are not doing that, and that's some kind of error, because we need to have example. So we can't be what we can't see.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And coming back to my childhood role model, which happened to be my mother, and I was fortunate enough to have, not every girl has that. Not every girl has an understanding that STEM is fine, that math is fun. And I think it goes really, really deep into how we do education with kids. I'm also a mom, and I have a son. It's interesting to ask him how he thinks about gender and, you know, raise a better generation. And I think in general, diversity for women and it's two-sided. So one time you need to be able to attract them. So we need more women. So we need to actually spread the word and say it's okay, that it's okay to be vice president. And you see a vice president in US that is female, and you know that it's possible because someone made it. But like, I almost feel like it's an obligation for me to pay it forward, to just to be there, to join those events, to encourage other women to say, yeah, it's possible, it's okay. And even if you get a setback, it's okay as well. We'll get through this together. You always need to be, you always have a cheerleader, coach, mentor, and friend. So if you really want it, you can actually do it. And then there's another component of it. As a leader, what's important for me is to create a culture that is inclusive for women. So there are a lot of companies that they say they want to hire women, and they are not really committed to keep them, right? So building the culture around within the company that where women feel safe to speak up, and respected and included in every decision. And there is some sort of bias in the industry, but it's not. It has no place in the working culture.
And yeah, and perhaps I think it's super interesting, this inclusive culture. We are talking with a lot of companies. They are trying hard, but they don't understand. They really not what is an inclusive culture for you. What kind of it's ERG group. It's a place where you can grow and being yourself. So perhaps given like kind of initiatives that you have like internally at Smart Recruiters to really create really outside you, because you're the role model with the VP product, you have the examples that you can grow and go directly to the highest level of the organization. I think it's the best example that you can give. But apart from that, so what do you have internally, perhaps concrete initiatives that you are building to create this inclusive culture?
Well, we prioritize leadership training, so it's part of our leadership training. Everybody goes through diversity training, and as I said, we also have a chief diversity officer for the company of our size. It's almost unprecedented, and we're so lucky to have her. And we prioritize diversity in recruiting, so we figure out where can we get more diverse people, so we actually balance it out. Of course, there are no miracles. It's inclusion and diversity is not about, okay, well, I have 10 male engineers, they're amazing, I'm going to replace them with women. No, it's not about replace, it's about balance. It's about structuring the teams that every team has at least one woman. We start with that. Then we move on to maybe another dimension of the dimension of diversity. It's not just about like gender.
Yeah.
Gender. There is race, there is religion, there is age, there are parents, no parents. How do you include all of that together? Now everybody is at home and at home office, and the schools are closed. Like, how do you deal with all of that? How do you create a culture of acceptance, and actually create an environment for humans, that you feel that you can bring whole yourself to work, and it is a journey. And it's a spectrum as well. There are potentially some things that I'm not even aware that some people might be discriminated against, because I've never met them, and I commit to be open to learn about it. And if we have everybody who will commit to just to be aware and listen what's going on and accept people as they are, this is what we would like to have. Now, what we do at Smart Recruiters, we do this as part of the training of raising awareness, and have like group exercises, and we talk about those issues and discuss examples. We also have working groups about women in tech, and we recently launched that, so there are great discussions over there. And we also have our chief diversity officer helping us with educating other companies and doing the pledge for diversity hiring, and assessing themselves on what they can do better. And us as a software provider, we provide software for hiring. So, and we have customers that are large enterprises. So if we can convince them to commit that that's actually a good thing, and they will follow up on this, and then potentially we can change the world. Not overnight, not in one day, but that's what we're set to do. And for me, as leading R&D function in our company, it's also very important to make sure that our product has the functionality to remove bias. So we invest in AI for identifying a match and why this match is being made on the discovery process. So if you ever applied, you'll get a match by the machine that is bias-free. Now, we cannot guarantee that you're going to get hired, but at least you'll be surfaced up. And what we're working on is trying to figure out any sort of insights within your hiring process as a recruiter or hiring manager or interviewer. What are you doing right? What are you not doing right? Where can you get better? Just to understand what's wrong, I think it's a power of knowledge, and surface this up. So yeah, that's our humble contribution.
I think it's super interesting, but because when I'm saying that we need more women in tech to build a strategy and to just being like and really reflect as a woman or as a diverse person, like underrepresented people. We need more of that, because you are building a product, not such every head yes on the subject. So, okay, you have labor and also built by the woman. But I think it's super interesting to see that and to see how you have this global reflection of our underrepresented people, and you are putting in the product, and you are keeping that function with your CTO level. I think this is the future of CTO. Like, we can't like just build like a product like that with engineering without about users, and that's fascinating, because that's exactly why I'm fighting to have like more women in tech and really at the level, at the strategy leadership and everywhere in the organization. And we have a question related to what you said with the bias and how to apply as a woman. So from Sylvia, one of the learning from other workshops. So I think she's a recruiter, because is that the language used in the job description will actually make women not to apply in the first place. So once in the interview, I see the role model and pulling them in, but how do you make them apply in the first place? So you don't put the language in your job application. What you can do to really make them apply, even if the description is not 100% matching with.
It's there are some general mistakes that people do, is like hustling, warrior, very, very strong language that we just don't find. Like, I don't want to go to war. I want to solve problems. Like, I wouldn't apply for those too. We actually we have several partners that do a pretty good job on screening job descriptions, and we also look through job descriptions ourselves internally. And we want to incorporate it into our AI, into removing bias. So the idea would be to automatically, when a job is being posted, to highlight what they can do better and what would be the better replacement. So I think if we can automate it and have software ready, incorporated into our solution and our hiring suite, that potentially should help and solve the problem. But it is a real problem. And because also I think people that actually post jobs, they might not even know that every word is affecting the results. So raising awareness that this is a problem and there is a better way of saying certain things. There's a lot of education that we need to do. And there's another component of making the decision. It was actually pretty cool. Like we had when I was at Google, we had a hiring training.
Yeah.
And part of the hiring training was bias busting. So you do the like, everybody has biases. It's absolutely normal. But if you're aware of them before you make a decision, you can actually stop yourself. Am I actually making decision logically or not? So I remember one of the stories that we had for hiring and how to prevent those things, actually create a scorecard. So what exactly are you searching for before interviewing a person? What would be good enough? And always search for must achieve and not must have, right? So if you follow this and you educate your team, your hiring team, that ultimately you need to follow this process, and then you can surface all of these biases up in terms of having a hiring committee and making decision. But for application of getting people in, you're absolutely right. Language is one of the problems.
Interesting question from Mariette, and really complimentary about what we said before. Have you ever had to deal with difficult customers who were not aligned with your diversity positive culture? So that means refuse to interact with one of your colleagues because of their gender, skin color, or other? And if so, how did your company react?
Not at this company where I'm right now. I would. It's even hard to imagine how we would react, to be honest. But it's a very peculiar situation. And I had a similar example several years ago. There were some racist remarks, and I don't think the company behaved in the way that they should. They just switched the person, and they protected the salesperson well enough. Yeah. If I were in this situation, I'll just pull away and say, I'm not serving you anymore. But that's me. Maybe I'm just too idealistic.
No, but that's important to know that now in your company it will be like not be like that again. So I think it's quite interesting to you have experienced this kind of situations. The leadership didn't move, and you know that now you are in a place where people will move and do something, and not like saying, "Yeah, we will switch a person." That's not an answer. Yeah, that's not. We have like a tough question from Uma, and really sorry to read that. How to deal with setbacks? So I was about to be promoted to a leadership position. I was already doing when I was made redundant, but feel like I was going back 3 years in my career. So she was like laid off from the after quite being promoted. And she now feels that she's really going back 3 years.
So like, you need a cheerleader. They're gonna happen. You just need your network to say, you're great. Those are your goals. Find a better place that will actually support you. It's tough because there are people that are dependent on you, but then ultimately start working towards it. So you cannot put up with this kind of discrimination, because if you allow them to do this for you once, they'll do it again. It is unfortunately happening, and it happened to me as well. Like when I came back from my pregnancy leave, 70% of my team was taken away from me. Never gotten back. I didn't get a change in title, so I couldn't sue or anything of the sort. But I had to rebuild a lot of influence that I lost for being away for 7 months. So.
That's terrible. That's another terrible story. So, but you are the example that you can come back. And I want to say for you, Uma, that there is so much companies who are wanting to find people such as you that have experience and leadership position, perhaps without a title, and that really want to give you the title. We are talking every day with companies such as like that. So really, it's okay to not be okay with a company that have like a bad behavior with you. So don't be like quiet about it. Build your influence. I'd say Alesia, and I can really certify you. There is so much company you are. So women in tech, women software engineering. Every day people are asking to have you as a manager, as a lead, as even as a CTO position. So I'm not afraid about the situation. You will come back, and we will, if we can help you about that, just contact us, and we will be happy to find a way to go to the next level for you, really.
Yeah, I would second that. Don't give up. Just connect to people. Find a better place that supports you.
Of course. We have a question for you as a mem, but we can ask the same. And the next time I will have please, Sylvia, ask the same question for the CTO guys of Dashlane and BlaBlaCar on Friday. So you are mem. How do you balance private life with the CTO position? Keep the same, please, for Guillaume. And Olivier, please, on Friday. I want the same question, but you as a dad, how did you make? Please, but please answer, because we know that's a huge challenge, because 70% of the women are dealing with the stuff at home. So that's okay to ask, of course.
Yeah, I don't think I deal with that. It's just part of life. It's who I am. I'm very rigorous about my schedule. I have a very supporting partner, so we share everything, and we're just making it happen. But I don't have a silver bullet for you. I'm sorry, I just don't. It is what it is, and you just need to be present in the situation. When you are a mom, you're a mom. When you're a CTO, you're a CTO. So try to compartmentalize. That's as good as it gets. Sorry.
Yeah. A question from Lian. How many are you cheerleading currently? How many people? And are they all women? I guess not.
I wish. You mean how big is my team?
Yeah, I think it's Lian. If you want to precise, I think it's about about the team now. So please answer, and we'll continue. I think it was one of the last questions.
So if it's about
yeah. So we'll wait for. We need to wait from an answer from Lian, but I think it was currently your team, and we can talk about.
Yeah, so it's about 130 people. And I think we need to hire another 30 or so.
Wow. Okay, so please apply to, and we have like someone from your team now here, Cave, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah, you can totally contact 30 more. So that's crazy. That's a huge team.
Yeah.
That's a big team. No?
Yeah, it is a big team. Yeah, as I said, like when you start growing, you start leading leaders. So it's like I don't talk to them personally every day, but it's a large team. It's also very, very big product. So if you think about the whole acquisition suite, but then there's the candidate piece, and there is also infrastructure, architecture, security, all of those things. So,
and the ratio actual of your team, the ratio female male is, you know the number between like engineering and product all together. You know the number?
I actually don't right now. It always can get better. We are pretty close to have one woman on engineering in every team. We only have 2 teams to go. In product, it's more female, or no, actually, probably.
So
50.
So altogether, you have like 20%, 25% of women inside the company. So it's quite a ratio.
I think that's right. So Lian came back. Yeah, I'm not cheerleading per se. So but I do have several mentees. I have 2. Some of them want to come into tech from another leadership position, and another one is growing into a leader. So I do a bit of coaching and a bit of mentoring.
So, okay, you are the mentor and outside the company or inside the company? Outside. Great.
Outside. I do have still capacity. For my yearly goals, mental check-in, I wanted to coach 3 women and to mentor 3 women, and I would make an exception for a diverse person that is not identified as a female, but I wanted to be diverse.
So you want to pick some,
and it needs to be it needs to be a match. So if you need someone, you can reach out. We can have a chat, and if we match, then
great. And mentorship is something that really a lot of women are asking on the platform, so it could be really great. We have a question from now Amira. So could you please go back to your why behind your decision of making it as a CTO? So you said you need to define your why.
Yeah, so for me, it was about having impact. How much impact can I have alone as an engineer? And how impact can I have of leading a team of engineers? And then how much impact can I have of leading multiple teams, and so on and so forth. And then when you lead organization, that's actually also kind of picking the business, the problems that you want to solve. And I think like right now, so that was my why, right? And after the next why is the CTO. At which company do you want to be? And then you actually kind of almost pick a partner, right? Of what kind of problems do you want to solve? And do you have the influence? Do you have everything that you need to be able to solve those kind of problems?
We have another question from Sylvia saying, being a CTO of such big organization makes you not expert on all technologies. So as we said, infra, security, and so on. What is your view on being CTO and not mastering all the technologies?
You don't have to master all of them. But I think it's okay to hire a person that is much more skilled in a certain aspect. That's absolutely fine. Then it needs to work though. Like, how can you help this person to be a manager and a servant leader? And why should this person report to you, right? So you do need to have an interest on how to organize all of this together. You need to have a bigger picture. You don't need to have a nitty-gritty details, for example, in how Kubernetes networking works. Like, you don't have to know that in detail. You do need to be able to talk about concepts on abstract level. At least in my view, you cannot completely take this away, because you won't be as effective as you can. And it could be that there is also a lens in me that tells me that I need to know that, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm not an expert. That's what works for me. In my sense, you do need to understand the concepts, and it's okay to have someone who understands them deeper, but you do need to have certain level of understanding. Don't need to be a master though.
So I forgot one question for Mariette. And so if you want, you can ask like more one question. Yeah. So Liane, and one more, but then we need to stop because we have 1 hour with Alesia, and it was super interesting. So Mariette asked, how did you handle the transition from being one of the boys to being the boss?
That's a really good question. I think if you transition to team lead, that's pretty mild. But it's difficult. In certain ways, you have to learn how to step back and let them do their thing if you are the boss, because they need to vent about leadership, saying something that makes no sense, and then your leadership, so they won't say it in front of you. So you do want to stay in connection, that they'll share the truth with you, but at the same time, they need their own space to be without you as a boss. So that's like one of the tricks that I had to master. Is like, if it's drinks after work, I won't do that. Not like I won't do this because I'm also a mom and I need to go home. But at the same time, I won't do this also for a reason that they need the space, and I'm okay to be there for 10, 15 minutes just to be there to show that I support them and I'm part of the team. But then I need to step back and actually let them do the thing. But like, I hope that answers what was asked. And the higher you go, the more difficult the jump is.
Yeah, and especially why? Because I don't know if you know this book, Invisible Woman, from Caroline Criado. Super fascinated about the data and the bias data. Every performance survey of women, like when they are bad, it's like, we are too bossy, too emotional, too irrational. We are too. So they say like 2. You are 2. So I think it's quite interesting. Awesome book, yeah, Sarah, and it's fascinating, Alesia. If you don't know this book, I will share with you. It's all the data and about the bias that are facing a woman in the world, and it's really related to the tech industry. A lot of data and survey. Amazing. And we have another question from Liane about the mentoring system. What is your advice for identifying, and then reaching out to someone and the potential mentor? In this case of saying, hey, will you be my mentor? So please, do you want? No, just how did you really build this question and this relationship? Do you need to ask directly?
I mean, you do need to ask. The worst thing was going to happen, person say, no, I don't have time, I'm sorry, I can help you. But without asking, you're not going to get a yes, you're not going to get a no. So just go. In terms of an advice, just reach out. It can be a matter, if you have 15 minutes, use this kind of sessions, you can use this platform, join this kind of events, do some networking. That's definitely helpful. That's why people are here. And in general, if you ask a question at any person that is around, and they come to this kind of event, they usually would like to help. So they might not sign up to having an hour with you every week, but they would be okay to have a conversation with you over coffee, a virtual coffee or something else. And you can just exchange ideas, and if they can help, they will. That's kind of how world works. There are a lot of humans out there that want to do good. So just reach out and don't hold back. Don't be afraid. Worst what you can get is a no.
You want to give a word, like for the final word to this conversation, and then I will stop. Do you have something that you want to share and add?
I haven't thought about it, but it was an amazing conversation. Time flew by so fast. Do connect with me if you find it useful for you. And I wish all of you a lot of success, and I hope we change the ratio of CTOs and all of the 75 visitors here, potential CTOs in the future. So it's amazing.
Yeah, that's totally amazing. And thank you so much for this really amazing conversation together. I think you are really such inspiring, but really concrete. It's like not the Sheryl Sandberg situation. We can really project ourselves in your position, and so thank you very much for being with us. We know that your time is precious, and people can connect, of course, on LinkedIn, but also on 15 Tech, because you are now on the platform, and so you can continue the conversation after. So thank you so much. And now for all the people, so thank you, Alesia. You can match in the networking session. So this is 101 peer session, so between engineers, talking about how to, so that your life, your daily life as an engineer, and what you want to achieve. So thank you so much, Alesia, and see you soon on 15 Tech and around. Bye-bye. And see you all on the networking session after. So, and Carrie Goetz will be with us at 5:30 CET. Talking about advice from a pioneer CTO. So stay with us. Go on the networking session to match 101. And then I will come back to you with Carrie Goetz from the US. She's really an amazing pioneer CTO since like 30 years. It will be awesome. So thank you so much for being with us today, and see you around, and see you in it would be like less than 1 hour. Bye. Come back in 30 minutes.